Good morning, Matt Waldman. Week 2, almost in the books. We got a Monday nighter heading up. We're doing this Monday morning, and no, A.J. Brown is not in any of my lineups. I've done the right thing there.
Me too.
Man, the injuries have been a mess. By the way, I'm Bob Harris. He's Matt Waldman. You can find him at Matt Waldman on the X device. I'm at Football Die Hard. You can find both of us at Football Guys, various points of time throughout the week. Also, find him authoring the rookie scouting portfolio. As you all know, it's the most comprehensive tome covering the rookie classes each and every year for 20,000 years now. What is it? What was this?
We're entering year 20. We are
Lord.
entering year 20. Yeah, I know.
Man, hard to imagine. And they're impressive efforts every year. And if you like one year, you will save it and you will use it repeated years. I find myself dipping into past seasons as players rise up. Maybe some of the players we're about to talk about, I can go back and look up. So we'll talk a little more about that. Let's start out feeling a fucking Isaiah Pacheco on IR with a fractured fibula. Carson Steele and Samaje Perine carrying the Chiefs' rushing attack.
They're going to want to add more players. One more player. Fuck that. And I honestly think they see Steele and Perine as complementary players. Maybe Perine can give you that Darrell Williams type of vibe. I know they loved what they got out of Steele. Steele did have that fumble in yesterday's game, but they went right back to the well with him, so that showed some confidence in what he can do. But I think that they're going to want a player either that is more explosive or someone that they feel confident can really handle multiple facets of the offense.
Keontae Ingram on the practice squad. What do you think?
I mean, if they really are confident in the two backs they have and feel like that they can go that route, they will probably add Ingram off the practice squad. If they aren't confident about those two being able to lead the way, then they're going to probably look for a veteran. But I just don't know if the idea of Kareem Hunt is necessarily that obvious, especially after he lied to them about what happened that got him kicked off in the first place, and it's the same regime. So I don't know how much they're going to let bygones be bygones.
Time heals all wounds, Matt Waldman.
That's what I hear, but
Jerick McKinnon also available out there. We've seen what he's capable of in this offense as a receiving asset anyhow. So
I like Perine, honestly. Like, he's the one that I think gives them the best combination of the skills of the two and the experience. And it's really the experience that I think gives him a little bit more than Steele at this point. But Steele has played reasonably well.
All right, let's move on. The Tennessee Titans. Will Levis, a field general. Fielder, fuck it.
Oh, fuck it. I think sometimes he's like a field major. He has moments like he looks like a field major. More often than not, I think he's maybe like a field corporal. Maybe a buck private. I don't know. He has moments that in the red zone just awful. Like, I mean, he gave the game away 2 weeks ago or last week. This week he had a red zone play throw to Tajay Spears that he should not even let the ball go, just take the sack. There are throws that he makes downfield where he threads the needle with the ball to receivers on vertical shots. He's always been pretty good in the vertical game. But I think he needs he needs the offense to scheme things up so that his supporting talent are creating more of the opportunities for him than he's creating for his teammates. I think
Will Levis does not cherish the football. He does not value the football. He doesn't take care of it like he means it. He's careless with the ball, and hence the offense is going to be a mess. We saw it in the opener. We saw it in this game. His inability to protect the football is going to be an issue, and it hurts us as fantasy managers because it limits the number of offensive plays. For all the reasons. I'm going with fuck it right now. I'm thinking mayonnaise salesman over field general.
I think there's a subconscious desire for him to take the money and run. If he's doing mayonnaise commercials this early in his career, and he hasn't proven anything, I don't know. I don't want to begrudge anybody for getting all the money that they can in the NFL because their major source of income is going to be front loaded in their lives. so might as well get everything that they can. But at the same time, if I'd rather show to my teammates that I'm really working hard on trying to be the best quarterback that I can be, and I'm just not sure if that's the sign for that, considering how he's been playing.
At the very least, Brian Callahan has his work cut out for him over the course of this season. Anthony Richardson was a disaster. 9.9 fantasy points. What will we do with him, Matt Waldman?
You'll keep playing him. You won't drop him. I would look at it this way. There was an egregious interception that he threw. There was another one that was a little bit more, not as bad. He also had a ton of drops. His running backs, his wide receivers, and tight ends dropped the ball repeatedly. He had a route miscommunication with A.D. Mitchell that I'm pretty sure was on Mitchell on an adjustment there. There were multiple plays called back that were big plays either in the run game or the passing game due to the offensive line and mistakes there. This was just a mistake-filled game. And I think that Richardson is the figurehead in that because he's the quarterback, but there was a lot more going on than just Richardson not performing at his best. So it was a disastrous fantasy outing, but I would say, remember, this is still his rookie year. How many games did he play last year? 4 or 5?
4.
Yeah, 4 games.
And 4 and a piece.
Yeah, so you're going to see him make rookie mistakes. He's entering the second quarter of his rookie year. So he's going to have highs and lows, and this was a low.
Fuck it, I don't care. I'm still playing him as I'm going to play him. Look, you played him for the massive upside, knowing there were going to be some tough weeks, and we'll see. If the tough weeks mount up, I probably drafted. That was one of my arguments for spending up on players like Richardson and Jaden Daniels. Was there was a reservoir of capable quarterbacks down the line. Not sure all of them are as capable as I thought. I'm looking at you, Kirk Cousins. But we'll see how that goes, right? But yeah, I think you're going to ride this out. Panic buttons set aside, kids. Looking at go back to the Jets at Tennessee, I noticed a number here I wanted to bring up with you. 7 of 8, 52 yards, a touchdown. That's a pretty good receiving line, and that's Breece Hall's receiving line in this game. He also carried the ball 14 times for 62 yards. Is Breece Hall the best receiver on the New York Jets?
No, but he is certainly a good receiver, and he is the best weapon on the New York Jets without a doubt. The route that he ran on the wheel route that he ran against what was his name? Kevin Murray, I guess it was, or the linebacker. I don't remember what his first name is, but Murray. The line, he ran that split out. The catch that he made was a perfect example of what Treylon Burks needed to do to attack a football on a vertical route. He actually did that better than the Titans' first-round pick wide receiver from a few years ago, which is just a really nice display of technique and how well he tracks a football. Very impressive. You can understand why Aaron Rodgers has singled him out as why he's the first read on a lot of his passing plays, and I get it. He's certainly one of the best receivers. He's not the best, but he's one of the best on the Jets for sure.
Aaron Rodgers talked about it, over the course of training camps, and I didn't realize how good of a receiving asset he was in red zone situations. I think he realizes it now. Just a quick feeler, fucking Braelon Allen as a potential bye week fill-in any given week, standalone player.
I'm going to say feel it as the guy that you can rotate it on and off of your roster, where you're not going to want to sit there and hold on to him forever if you don't have Breece Hall. But go ahead and bring him in. Now, I watched the plays where he scored. They were pretty gimme plays. They were well executed up front, and he didn't. They were schemed up. And they weren't anything that was unbelievably impressive on his end. He finished well on one of those plays, but I wouldn't look at this as he's instant Breece Hall territory in terms of if he gets plugged in, in Hall's place. But he's a competent back who has some flaws that can get fixed. But he's a power. He can be powerful. He has good acceleration, and he can catch the football. And on that that roster, that's good enough.
I'll go with that as well. This is probably more of an Anthony Richardson question. The Colts' run defense is awful. Is that gonna keep the offense off the field?
It could, yeah. It really could. Because this should be a better defense than it has been. But watching them the past 2 weeks, and I know that Joe Mixon and Josh Jacobs are very good running backs, but those guys were getting to the second and third level of the Colts defense on a consistent basis and usually running through the tackle attempt of a linebacker or safety on a consistent basis. And even when the Colts switched from a regular front to a bear front, which is a 5-man front where you put the nose tackle directly over the center, which is supposed to help you stop the run, it didn't really work all that well. Jacobs, I mean, I believe he had something to the effect of like 3/4 of the Packers offense, I think, through the first 3/4 of that game, which is just pretty insane. Actually, no, that wasn't the case. You know what I was looking at? It was Taylor, who had 135 of 206 total yards for the Colts in the first 3/4 of that game. But the way Josh Jacobs earned his 100, like in the first half, it just looked like they couldn't stop him at all. And looking at what Mixon did the week before, I am starting every running back. If I have to pick up a streamer, again, because I don't have a running back play, I'm looking to see who the Colts are playing.
That's a reasonable approach. It's not like they should have been preparing for the great Malik Willis to destroy them through the air, right? They should have expected like a run-heavy approach.
Yeah,
Malik Willis. Malik Willis was fine, by the way.
Yeah.
But maybe in part because they were focused on the run, which they could not stop. It's not a good game. Not a good game. Yeah. Not a good game for the Colts.
Malik had a lot. They ran a lot of screens and a lot of design plays that were schemed up, so they didn't have to make a shit ton of reads that were like complex. But he knows that he's just learning everything here too. So he made a couple of really nice throws on man-to-man routes. But overall, you're right. It was run heavy, and they're going to keep it that way, hoping that Love will be back very soon.
7.3. That's the average fantasy points per game of one Dalton Kincaid. I don't feel like people signed up for that when they drafted him. Is it going to get better?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know, because when I watch that offense, most of the plays that he makes are these little flat routes that he just comes off the line, turns outside and looks for the ball, and then he gets yards after the catch. And he's doing a very good job getting yards after the catch, but he's very rarely getting targets downfield. And they're running him downfield on routes. But the problem is that, like Mark Andrews against the Chiefs, opposing defenses are looking at Dalton Kincaid as their most dangerous passing down weapon, and they're making sure that he's the priority against zone coverage, and then that means the players underneath, like Khalil Shakir, are getting the wide open looks. So I would like to see Josh Allen force the ball a little bit to Dalton Kincaid and let him go up and win some, and be that guy. But I don't think Allen trusts him like that at this stage. I think that if you have him, I would hold on to Kincaid. But if somebody wants to trade for him and you're not going to get lowballed to death on it, and I doubt that's likely. So you're going to want to hold on to him until he has a couple of good games, and then see what those good games really entailed before you trade him.
Totally going to get lowballed, and that's not what you want to do. No. So obviously, Field holding on, playing it by ear, hoping you have someone who's maybe giving you, 18.8 fantasy points per game at the position. And right now there's a player doing that. He's a tight end 3 overall. His name is Brock Bowers. He's the rookie in Las Vegas. Is this what you expected, Matt?
Yeah, this is what I expected from Dalton Kincaid. But I did have Brock Bowers as a top 12 tight end this year. The big question was the quarterback, who was he going to have? And then once you saw that he was matched with Gardner Minshew and Minshew won the job, if you go back and look what Minshew did over a several game stretch with Dallas Goedert, you realize that Brock Bowers could have a very strong season, maybe 1,000-yard season. So watching Brock Bowers this morning, that he showed good rapport on scramble drills, and Gardner Minshew was not afraid to target him, and Bowers showed the skill after the catch that you want, and there are some nice anticipation plays over the middle. He adjusted the ball like a receiver. Minshew's playing well, and I'll just we'll add that to the list too, is just saying that I'm feeling Gardner Minshew right now. He's scanning the field well. He's showing anticipation and rapport with Devontae Adams and Brock Bowers. He's getting to multiple reads. When he takes sacks, they're generally difficult pocket scenarios. Otherwise, he's able to get out of the pocket or work within the pocket to find players downfield. He just seems to be processing the game at a good level. And the strength of his game is middle of the field throws with anticipation. And but at the same time, he's not afraid to get outside the pocket and be able to throw back shoulder to a guy like Adams against tight coverage on a scramble drill. And they're showing like mid-season level rapport, those two. So I'm liking it.
This is like the reversal of what's going on in Pittsburgh, right? Like, so Gardner Minshew, they have the young guy, they have the experienced veteran come in, and it's a battle between the two. The incumbent had the first choice. Gardner Minshew had to beat out Aiden O'Connell, and he did. And it seemed wise because if you threw Aiden O'Connell in and he struggled and you go away from him, you're stuck staying away from him. I think it's just the opposite in Pittsburgh, basically, where you had the old guy in there, but you maybe wanted to play the young guy. You have the fortuitous injury, old guy being Russell Wilson, young guy being Justin Fields. Justin Fields, as long as he keeps winning games, field or fuck it, he remains the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, as long as he's winning, I think that's absolutely going to be the case. And he's showing some rapport with George Pickens, and the rushing element that he provides is a tier higher than what Russell Wilson could ever provide. And I'm not sure Russell Wilson is, Russell Wilson's got some mobility still, but it's not on the level of what Fields had ever. And, you're going to see mistakes along the way from Fields that maybe Wilson's a little savvier in terms of working the pocket and finding that second or third read. But I think that Fields will have to completely fall apart for him to lose his job.
So I'm going to channel my inner Drew Petzing here, Matt, and I'm going to talk to you like you're Kyler Murray. Just throw him the ball.
But I don't want to force it.
Just throw him the ball.
But what if what if I just have to scramble around? But what if he's like covered?
Fuck it. Throw Marvin Harrison Jr. the football no matter what.
I think he got the memo, and I think that was probably the conversation. I actually think it was probably like, I think it got to a point where maybe Kyler was like, but, Petzing was like, look, if you just see a flash of red where Harrison's supposed to be, throw it, and what if it's a bandage on the Rams? Shut up, Kyler. Just throw him the fucking ball. And if you look at the game, first of all, he did get the memo, and last week I said, listen, fade Harrison until you get proof that we're going to see him that happen.
We have that proof.
And we have that proof now. Now, I will say this. He had 8 targets, caught 4 of them. The touchdown catch was a little questionable, the first one. Whether he actually caught it or not, it was a beautiful play regardless. I'll give it to him too. And I think they did too. But he's great with his back to the ball and his back to the defender. And he had a number of opportunities like that. And compared to the Bills game, he was also running through a lot of open zones. So what we want to see is, can he win in man? And I think he can, but will Kyler target him in man? And will he target him in tight man-to-man situations? Right now we haven't seen that yet. So I would say, go ahead, if you benched Harrison waiting for further confirmation, you probably aren't waiting for me to tell you that he got the memo and it's okay.
I believe the permission slip was handed out yesterday.
I think it was, exactly. I believe it was. You don't need me to tell you.
So what level of production can Marvin Harrison sustain? That was a huge game, but mostly happened in the first quarter.
Yeah.
He ended up playing 70% of the snaps, but didn't see him much late in the game. It was a blowout win. I mean, I kind of get that, but there's room for more. Yeah,
there is. I mean, he did get 4 more targets, didn't catch a single one of them. Not that he dropped them, but he had, they weren't accurate. So certainly, I think he can have games like this against zone defenses. I still want to see against man. Don't be surprised if 3 weeks from now we're revisiting this topic and asking about whether or not the man coverage is an issue for Kyler when man coverage is clamped down on Harrison. That's what we're waiting to see. And if it isn't, then yeah, I think that my projection of Marvin Harrison being a 950-yard receiver this year will be too low. And I think you should play him until you get more proof that his production is spotty. And then we're going to have to see whether or not that's driven by. But for right now, during the first 3 to 5 weeks, I think it's okay to keep experimenting with him in your lineup. Obviously, considering what we saw last week, but I didn't see anything new from how he performed on Sunday from his scouting report that you find in the rookie scouting portfolio. What he did well, he did really well. But there wasn't any new information to add that would say, oh, he's going beyond what we thought.
All that said, feeling fucking Malik Nabers still the best receiver in this class.
Oh, I'm still feeling that. He still has Daniel Jones, but at the same time,
18 targets, volume matters, people.
That's right. Speaking of someone who gave Daniel Jones that memo, Brian Dable was like saying the same thing and probably far more expletive filled than what Drew Petzing was saying to Kyler, because we know Kyler's a little more temperamental. But I think I think that Nabers provides you more versatility as a receiver, especially in man-to-man. He's a better man-to-man route runner. So he's the leader of that receiving unit, whereas I would say Harrison could eventually be the receiver of that, the leader of that receiving unit, and might be some weeks. But if you notice, the next best receiver fantasy-wise was a 6 for 67 day, I think, from Trey McBride, which isn't great. It's okay, but it's not like Kyler Murray was supporting multiple fantasy options this week off of that. Now, they did win early, and they were able to run the ball successfully, so that's part of it as well.
Malik Nabers currently wide receiver 3 with a 20.2 point per game average. Right now, I will not be victory lapping. It's way too early, but woo. Look, I'm not victory lapping anything. I've got enough stuff wrong that I'm like every victory lap I take, there's like a huge stumbling block. So
you celebrate the little moments where you can.
Celebrate the little moments. Yeah. All right. So can Caleb Williams survive his offensive line? Feel it or fuck it.
I think he will eventually develop into becoming a very good quarterback. Obviously, this year is going to be rough. And I think for me, that's where I looked at him most in my scouting report long term, is that if there was a player who could survive the onslaught that might come his way with a bad offensive line and a dysfunctional team or organization like the Bears front office, he would be it. And he's going to get tested, but I believe that he can. Now, fantasy-wise, production, you don't want him. Obviously, I don't think, again, you need to hear from us to tell you that you don't want to start him until the line starts showing that they can protect him. Yeah.
Yeah, not on a consistent basis. Erick All caught all 4 of his targets for 32 yards. Haven't seen a lot of them. Was that enough to close his dynasty buy window there?
I think in really competitive leagues, it's already closed. At this, as of
in
Sunday.
Leagues I'm in, you and I are both in. Yes.
And our leagues, there's no way you're going to overpay for him. But I think this week, maybe next week, you might still get a chance to get in on him in maybe leagues that aren't as competitive like that. And I would do so because not only, he didn't do anything spectacular in the game, but he was consistently good. And the fact that they're using more 2 tight end sets with him, part of that has to do with the wide receiver situation, but also part of it is as Joe Burrow said about him, he said he just keeps getting better. He's already good, and he keeps getting better every week. And we think he has a bright future. And when your quarterback says that, you got to feel pretty good about it.
So, I have a great theory about being big and fast, that it's a great thing. Is Treylon Burks suggesting otherwise so far at this point in his career? Is he exposing a weakness in the scouting community?
I mean, I think he's exposed a long-held weaknesses that, big and fast doesn't always cover up lack of technical skills.
But it's big and fast.
Yeah, he was big and fast enough to have balls bounce off of him. So,
But is Quentin Johnston evidence that they can get better?
No, because Quentin Johnston was good at the things that they're asking him to do this year. Last year, they were asking him to do things that he wasn't good at. So I think that's the difference right there, is that Quentin Johnston still had a little bit more upside here, whereas I think Burks, they're asking him to do things that he's just not good at. So they need to either address that or just move on if they want him to be something he's not.
Fair enough. Skylar Thompson will surprise the Dolphins. Fielder fucker. By the way, they signed Tyler Huntley off the Ravens practice squad today. So
yeah. So I would say this: the answer is probably fuck it. But I like Skylar Thompson. I like what I saw in his game. The reason that I'm going to say fuck it is that watching him earlier in his career, one of the things I noticed is a lot of drop passes from the starters. And I think one of the reasons why that was the case is that they're going from a left-handed quarterback that they practice with all the time to a right-handed quarterback. And then also the type of plays they run and that are geared towards more of a lefty than a righty. That's going to be a bigger switch than I think people realize, and you're going to see some issues there. Now, what I like about Skylar Thompson more than Tua Tagovailoa is that he's got a better arm. I think he has equally good pocket mobility and pocket management skills when he's on. And he has some daring to his game if he continues to grow confidence. So I think there's maybe like a 25% chance that he becomes the quarterback one of his draft class and suddenly nails down this job and looks great because, again, he beat out Mike White. They were really confident in what he did. They loved his command. The teammates trust him now. They felt like he's done a lot better in the past 2 years behind the scenes than what he got forced into as a rookie. But I'd say unless you're in a deep dynasty league, you probably don't need to add him just yet. If you want to make him a preemptive ad because you have Tua gone and you don't have much else at the quarterback position available and you don't want to trade for anyone, he's worth picking up in that end of the spectrum. But
what are you doing? What are you doing with the associated pieces, in particular Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? I mean, can't sell them right now. Nobody's going to be buying, or how do you approach lining them up on your rosters?
I mean, I think I'm still going to start those guys because they're going to use them in the short passing game. There's going to be a lot of design plays to get them targets. They're just not. You're not looking at them as they're going to drop a tier. Each of them drop a tier for you. It's like, whereas, Tyreek Hill was an elite wide receiver 1. Now he's probably a low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2. Jalen Waddle, wide receiver 3.
Von Achan, good news, kids. The dump off is going to be a thing here.
Yeah, but I do think that if Thompson plays the way I've seen him play, we may change that projection, and Tyreek Hill will be just fine. But I think it's just a matter of, again, whether this team really acclimates quickly to a righty and Thompson plays the way that he's shown flashes of on college tape.
How about Sam Darnold? First 2 games, mirage or the real deal?
I haven't watched Darnold yet, so I really don't have a great answer for that. But I do think it's going to be fascinating to see what happens with with Justin Jefferson out and see how well he does without Jefferson.
And maybe Addison as well, who is not a lock to return this week. Also, we've got games coming up against the Texans, Packers. Who else after that? Seahawks. Oh, so they got who do they have? They have the Texans, Packers, Jets, and Lions. Looks like a daunting case. I don't know. I do feel like, though, watching, I have watched both games, and I feel like this is, good coaching matters. I think Kevin O'Connell's done a good job with coaching this offense and asking them to do things that, like when you let Justin Jefferson run 127 yards on a 97-yard touchdown. I mean, that's a pretty good play call, right? Yeah. So I think there's something about that. I think Darnold will continue to play well. I think he's right now right about quarterback 14. I would not expect him to jump into the quarterback 1 territory, especially with the pieces missing over the next week or maybe 2. But yeah, he might help you, like definitely in Superflex. But even if you come to getting a bind in a regular league, he might be a viable streaming option any given week.
Yeah, well, the rocket scientists that they had last year had a few good games too. When he came over from the
but he always does that.
Does he? Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, he starts out like hot everywhere he goes, right?
Yeah.
And then like the reality sets in.
Yeah. So that may be the case. So I'm interested in seeing. I'm going to watch Darnold probably within the next 3 to 4 hours, and I'll probably have a better answer on that in a column.
So I went into before yesterday's game. I was watching the first week's game, the Saints against the Panthers, and I was doing that Saturday. And so I was doing the pregame show yesterday. I asked Jeff Mans. I said, "Is it possible that Clint Kubiak, with like things like motion, play action, rollouts, is maybe making this a better offense, and it was maybe more the Saints than playing well than the Panthers playing horribly in week 1? Dallas would like me to know that it's possible the Saints offense is better than people think. Is this a sustainable thing, or are you seeing the same?
I'm seeing the same. I really liked the Saints last year from a personnel standpoint, and was like, wow, Rashid Shaheed is like going to be the final piece of the puzzle that's going to tie this offense together, and Derek Carr is going to have a huge year. He's going to have a career year, get in on the Saints, and then provided that the Saints had a really strong offensive line rating, and they did preseason, but Trevor Penning did not play to expectation, and it all fell apart due to that. So I think I was an offensive line a year shy of what actually happened, and an offensive coordinator shy, because Kubiak's ability to create scenarios that use the players to the best of their ability and disguise things has really made a big difference. And this team kills you in so many different ways, because Olave can be, Olave is their most versatile receiver. Certainly Shaheed is just a game breaker, who can also work the middle of the field when you need him to. Foster Moreau, even when healthy, can give you some nice little elements when they aren't using Taysom Hill in just about every role possible. So this, and Kamara looks like Alvin Kamara. Like, oh, you mean his off-field issues are over, and now he's not distracted, and they're giving him extra gaps because now they're running 2 tight end sets with a fullback in the backfield oftentimes. Yeah, don't give Alvin Kamara an extra gap at the line of scrimmage. That's just insanity. He was close to 5 touchdowns yesterday.
Yeah, using the motion. This is what the cool kids in the coaching community do, said Mike McDaniel, and now Clint Kubiak. Bryce Young, as bad as he looks.
I think the situation is as bad as it looks, and considering that, and I think that he is playing down to that situation pretty badly. So he's rushing. This is a new offense for him, so it's his second offense in as many years he's been in the league. That's a bad sign. He's got an overwrought owner. On top of that, he's got a coach that we have questions about whether or not he's truly getting freedom to make changes at the line of scrimmage. And if he's still learning the playbook at a certain level, it may be difficult for them to actually give him the level of freedom that they claim they're giving to him. And the offensive line hasn't been playing well so far. So they thought the offensive line would be better, and Young also, people look at him, they're saying he's too short. He's not stepping up in the pocket well enough to get the ball where it needs to be. The arm strength isn't there. He has moments where he's thrown with good anticipation. For fantasy, it's as bad as it looks. For reality, you're probably just, or in a dynasty league, you're probably just holding out hope. Let's see if they can make some adjustments and he can slow down a bit, and the team.
Panthers
can get
have the first round pick overall next year. Do they take a quarterback?
They do, but I'm not sure that they do, because they have no reason to stick with Young, considering the coaching staff isn't invested in him in that level. But at this stage, if he keeps playing like this, it's a slam dunk that they'll be picking another guy.
It's a long season, people. Maybe things will change. Probably not, but I'm like eternally optimistic. Not really about Bryce Young. I'm lying now. Fuck that. Follow him on the X Machine. Like Ian Rappaport's out there retweeting him today, so probably the whole world's following at Matt Waldman right now. I'm at Football Diehard. You can follow me as well. I'm much less interesting there. You can find both of our works at Football Guys. On Thursday, my Fantasy Notebook. On Friday, my Polarizing Players article with Gary Davenport. We have an argument every week. Saturday, my In and Out column, which is a little bit edgy, kids, not for the meek, the timid, or the faint of heart. And went a little better this week than last week. And Matt, a big bunch of stuff coming out from you every week as well.
Sure, you got the top 10, which which I'll have out probably tomorrow morning or tonight. That just covers film analysis of what I think you should do from a fantasy perspective. You got the gut check last week. We looked at Brian Thomas and Gabriel Davis and Tank Bigsby at the rookie scouting portfolio. We looked at some scouting points from Ken Walker's game. And the replacements last week, ad nows, were Alec Pierce and Jalen Naylor. I think they did all right as ad nows, basically, that you're looking at guys to come off the scrap
and
heap.
maybe going forward
As guys, I'm trying to get you guys that it's Friday, you found out some news that you didn't like about your roster, and you said, oh shit, my waiver wire already passed. Who can I pick up off first come, first serve and actually do me okay? So
I am the first come, first serve king. I will be using that column on a weekly basis.
So there you have it. So in addition, we got a bunch of other podcasts, including this one. I think this week, Brandon Angelo and I will be revisiting. Of course, Adam Harstead and I doing that fine podcast that we do, Dynasty Film and Theory. And then Felix Sharp and I do the college slate. We talked a lot about Cam, I'm trying to remember Cam's last name, the quarterback from Miami, who will probably be one of the top picks in the NFL draft that the Carolina will be looking at.
I haven't seen a college game in 20 years.
See, there you go. I haven't watched a college game for fun since Baker Mayfield played the Bulldogs at the Rose Bowl, and Nick Chubb and Sony Michel were there. That's the first time I sat down without watching tape.
I don't have to watch college because I have the rookie scouting. Year.
Bob, I just learned who Connor Stallions was. I bet you don't know who that is, but everyone listening probably knows who that is. But they will be laughing that I used to joke that I didn't know that Lamar Jackson won the Heisman until like 6-8 months later. Until before the season. I didn't know there was a major cheating scandal at Michigan during their national title hopes. And that Connor Stallions was the signal stealer, and that there was a whole network of things that was controversy. It was on Netflix. I thought before the season I'd watch it just so that I was like, oh, that looks kind of interesting. So let me see what this is.
Obviously, the NFL, their seasons are at the same time. I'm sorry.
I don't pay attention. I don't pay attention to narratives like that.
Also, get the Daily Update podcast out at 5:30 every morning. Give you 10 minutes of news and notes that you need to start your day and maybe help you gain a little edge on the competition. That's it. We're going away now, Matt. Love you. Goodbye.
Love you. Bye.